Should Paul Heckingbottom get the sack? Well, after our first 7 games in the Premier League, Sheffield United have only managed to get 1 point and are currently sitting rock bottom with the worst goal difference being the league leaders for goals conceded, which isn't exactly something you want to be league leaders for, and we're also joint last for goals scored. And for that reason alone, I think it's difficult to make a case as to why he shouldn't get the sack. Additionally, he was at the helm for our greatest ever league defeat when we lost by 8 goals to Newcastle at home. And I think the issue is with that game, obviously, it's not the result, because losing to Newcastle, who are a Champions League side, that isn't an issue. It's the scoreline, right? It's the performance. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, and it ruined all our hard work up to that point to try to keep like a respectable goal difference. Because actually going into that Newcastle game, we had the best goal difference in the bottom 5. And I think what this comes down to mainly is just I don't think he's a Premier League manager. Obviously, we're winless so far this season, and he's only won 3 games in the Premier League in his whole career as a manager. But, that being said, I think there are plenty of reasons why he should keep his job as well. I mean, for a start, we've seen Heckingbottom get the best out of players like McBurney, Robinson and Bogle, just to name a few. So clearly he's a good man manager, and he can get the best out of players, and he can get players to improve their game. He's also done very well for us, getting us out of the Championship and back to the Prem. So I think he should be given a fair shot at keeping us up. And I think it's quite easy to be sort of negative or revisionist around Heckingbottom. But let's not forget that when he took over Sheffield United, we were, in the lower end of the Championship. We hadn't really done very well under Slavica Jokanovic. It was changing the way we were going to play, moving to a back 4, like a 4-3-3 with wingers. We're putting like Brewster out on the wing and all this sort of stuff. And it wasn't working. And then Heckingbottom takes over, gets us, into the playoffs in his first season, then second season gets us automatically promoted. Considering in that time, there was barely any investment in the squad, that's a really, impressive achievement for any manager. And also, a factor we've got to talk about, and I talk about it over and over again, but it is the fact that we got rid of our 2 best players in Jai and Burge right at the start of the season. And look, that isn't on Heckingbottom, that's on ownership, that's on the Poundland Prince, whatever you're going to say. But that isn't on him. It's not on Hecky in any way. And I think now we're seeing the effect of losing all those key players. And then, there's plenty happening behind the scenes as well, which is going to be getting in the way of his football and activities and sort of distracting him from that. Obviously, we had the fact that we were transfer embargoed last season, which, Hecky sorted out in a way by getting us so deep into the FA Cup, and that prize money really helped us out. And then additionally, in terms of like the hierarchy, the Poundland Prince is desperate for a takeover. And, as a result of that, we've got a bunch of like these weird clowns almost, like, the real life Nigerian Prince, Duzi Ambrose, coming in with these like fake private jets trying to get involved in an ownership, getting on Rio Ferdinand's podcast somehow, and then you've got that Henry Marius guy who was trying to get involved in buying us, and now all of a sudden he's like on the FBI most wanted list or something crazy. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, obviously that's all like major distractions happening behind the scenes. And then obviously another factor we have to consider is just that the players are clearly behind him. I mean, McBurney came out in a post-match press conference after the West Ham game. And I think any Blade who hasn't seen it should go watch it, because he speaks really well about, the current situation that we're in. And he says, how much all the players are behind him. And you listen to what he's saying. And I think some footballers just say that because they're PR trained to say that. But when McBurney says it, I do believe it. And something else is just that I don't know what other manager we could get. We got rid of Heckingbottom, who could do as good a job that he's done. I mean, you have to consider that we have a tiny budget that they can work with in January if we want to make any changes to the squad. And then also the fact that no manager wants a relegation on their CV. And that's going to straight away limit, who we can get. I think, look, Wilder is an option, bringing him back, but is that really the best thing for us to do? Is it not just taking another backward step? I mean, looking at our upcoming fixtures, our next winnable game, realistically, is going to be Wolves at home after the international break. And there's a bit of a conundrum around this, because either option 1, you let Hecky stay until the Wolves game and see if you can finally get a win. And if you can't get a win, then you have to sack him and bring someone else in. Or option 2, we sack him now with the upcoming international break, if he doesn't get something at Fulham away from home, and then will give the new manager the best possible chance to get something at Wolves, because he'll have the international break, then you have Man United at home, then you have Wolves at home. So he gets an international break, so he has a week to train the players into his system, then he has 2 home games in a row, and I think that way, you give him the best chance of actually getting something out of those games. And look, my whole take on this is that at this level, at Premier League level, you have to be ruthless, okay? And I think Hecky may have taken us as far as he can go. But in my opinion, to reward his loyalty to us and what he's done for us these past 2 seasons, I think you have to give him the Fulham game at absolute least. And then if we can't get a win there, we can't get a draw there, maybe it's time to let him go. But look, that's just my take on this whole thing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.